Hi and welcome to Aussie Kicks. On today's show we're going to be focusing on Kyosho for 2022. What can we expect to see from them in the coming year? Now this one's a little bit more difficult than the Tamiya one that I did last week. I'll put a link up there if you haven't seen that one. On this one, there's going to be a lot more guesswork in it, and unfortunately I think it's going to be a little bit more on the negative side. Right, let's push back to the last year. What have we seen to kind of give us some hints to what we might see in the future? Well, a lot of you will probably know already, but Kyosho was sold very early in the year. Back in March. It was bought by, sorry, I may kill a few pronunciations here, a venture company called A2, which also operates Shurugaya, which is an online store for computer games, model hobby stuff and things like that. They acquired Kyosho in whole from Investment Partnership, which owned it before. But usually that's not a good sign. It means that it's not meeting the expectations of the previous owners, or they decided they weren't interested in it anymore, so they wanted to get rid of it, which usually means that it was not doing as well as planned. Now I have no proof on that. That's just going on experience and what you'd kind of see. Again, whether that business wanted to move into a different market, so that's why it was acquired. And I can see why they acquired it, being that they have a front online store that usually does hobby things like that, bolting Kyosho onto the back of it and then selling through that store could be a big benefit for them. Again, developing products for them to then sell on that kind of works. Obviously, being a Japanese company, it's much harder to do research on it. So that played a big part in it. So we can assume that the purse strings are quite tight, and they will tend to focus on what's making them the most profit and revenue first. And if you go and look at the Kyosho YouTube official channel, you can kind of start to see where those aspects are. If you go there and then look at the most viewed videos, that will give you the top sort of 20 videos that most people are interested in. Now, if you dig through it and look for the new things within the last year to 2 years, then you can see what's really getting the most traction. And a lot of that is basically the Suzuki Jimny, the Toyota 4Runner. They're all Mini Zs. They seem to be getting the most amount of attention. And that, I think, is why we're seeing so many Mini Zs coming from Kyosho. They are really looking at pushing that sort of market, and they're bringing out more and more of them all the time. It's kind of understandable, I suppose. They're a lot smaller, obviously focusing from a Japanese point of view, and the new owners are very much a Japanese company. So space is limited in Japan. Having big cars, very noisy cars and things like that don't really fly in Japan. So having a small car that you can drive around just outside or inside your own house is a big draw, as well as this is something that people are seeing a lot, where people's houses are becoming smaller and things like that. So I can see why there's a lot of people getting into them, and being that electronics have got smaller, then it's possible to make these cars smaller and smaller, but also performing really well with brushless technology, LiPo batteries and that kind of stuff. The only other things that kind of stood out was the Madvan VE. That got quite a bit of traction with 114k views. Then the Kyosho Phantom EP, which is what I have here, that got 72k views within the last year. And the other side of it that I don't really understand a lot, that's getting a lot of traction, is they did some like flying toy thing, which is definitely a Japanese market. That got a lot of traction at 64,000 views in 1 month. So obviously that's drawing a lot of their attention, is their domestic market. Now the other side of it that you can kind of see is the Kyosho USA. It looks from their product releases they're putting out that they do actually get a big say with Japan, and they are pushing their own agenda and products. There's a hell of a lot of cars, the Phaser Mark IIs, the Drift Toyota Supra. the Hellcat. These are all based on the same FZ02L chassis, which kind of makes sense if money is tight, that you're putting really nice quality bodies on different types of kit, a bit like Tamiya does with the TT02. That means that you're selling more kits, but you're not spending that much money changing chassis and development costs and things like that. It's just a new body, branding, and then you sell it. So again, it leans towards purse strings being a bit tight. Now, we have seen the USA 1, which is another big monster truck that's coming right now. This, I think, was a very good move for them because it's actually based on a chassis that come from the Mad Crusher that's been modified to make it stronger to accept the wheels. So again, it's bringing out something vintage, but yeah, it's not. And that means they haven't had to basically redevelop the old kit because they might not have the molds and what have you. They've just put the body on an original chassis that they've sold as other products. So the manufacturing costs are much lower. Is this a trend that means that they don't actually have the original molds? It could be that Kyosho, unlike Tamiya for instance, don't necessarily have a lot of the old tooling for some of the old cars, which means if they're going to bring out a re-release of something, it's going to be super expensive. Well, one aspect that they are very, very keen on keeping going is their Inferno Nitro racing buggies. This is a big one for America, and if you go to the corporate website for America and look at the news, there's loads of news about racing, so they definitely will focus on that moving forward into 2022. So don't expect that to disappear. Now, they've just released their MP10. These are cars that I have no real interest in, so I don't really know much about them. But it's a big racing 1/8 scale aspect that Kyosho USA will be very keen on keeping going. So that will continue in 2022 for sure. Same with the Mini Zs. Definitely we'll see more and more of those in 2022. Now, a lot of you that watch this channel are people who like the classics, so we'll be more interested in what's going to happen with the Legendary series from Kyosho, and that's where I personally think things are not looking too good. The last one that came out was obviously the Phantom, and that was 14 months ago now, and we haven't seen anything. Now, we do continue to see Legendary series being reissued. None of them have been discontinued. They do seem to be dripping out of Japan, and you can pick them up as they come and go in stock. America seems to struggle more with like the Phantom. It doesn't seem to be available. A good few of you have commented that you've waited a long time to get this one. In the UK, it seems to be available, then it goes out of stock, and then it comes back like the other Legendary series cars. So I don't think Kyosho has killed it yet. I can understand why they wouldn't kill it, because if they've gone to all the trouble of producing them, just delivering a batch, waiting for them to disappear, delivering a new batch, and then eventually the demand will get so low that they won't deliver a new batch, and then they'll kill it. But at the moment it seems to be ticking over. Does that mean we'll see a new Legendary series release in 2022? Unfortunately, I'm going to say probably not. Going by the way that they're trying to eke out as much benefit versus the costs to them, for them to bring out a whole new Legendary series is very expensive. I honestly don't think we will, unless it's something that's very easy for them to do, like a slightly different version of this or whatever. But a lot of you will be screaming that you're desperate to see the mids or the lasers, and I honestly can't see them investing that kind of money after just being acquired. If things improve and they turn around a decent profit, then maybe that profit will be taken and put into producing a vintage buggy like one of the lasers or the mids. But I don't think we'll see it in 2022. It may be a bit early, maybe 2023. Now, I could be wrong on this, but my gut just tells me it's too much of an investment when they can put that money into doing more Mini Zs and things like that, and other local domestic products for Japan's market, which then suits to be sold on the website for the Japanese company. It's a difficult one, but I don't know. Comment below, let me know what you think. I do hope so, and I hope it's a mid. Now, do I think it would be a brilliant idea for them to bring out a re-release mid? Oh yes, and I think every single unit would sell out instantly. And I know a lot of you who have got Kyosho for the first time after seeing some here and online really do appreciate how good the Kyosho stuff is. So hopefully that's not the end, and this is the last one we see in the Legendary series. Anyway, thanks very much. Please comment below, let me know what you think.